Boom, shakalaka boom. You've tuned in to the Free Range Human Show Choice, your daily dose of reality radio. It is a hump day here on WYAB. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I'm, of course, Clay Edwards. I am joined here in the studio this morning by my favorite attorney and yours, Shaun Yurtkuran. Good morning, Shaun.
Good morning. Good morning.
How you doing?
Oh, great, man. Having a great day already for as long as it's been.
You know, sometimes coming in from Brandon, some days it feels like it takes 5 minutes to get here.
Yeah.
And some days it feels like it takes 2 hours. And the 49 is just unique because you don't realize how far Flora is from Jackson. But anyway, it's a nice little relaxing drive.
Yeah, it's far from Brandon, I guess, right?
Well, once you get off of 220 and you're not dealing with so much of the Jackson stupidity and just the Talladega 500 on 220, 49 is not so bad. I mean, you got to get past, about to the country club, you know, or the Trace, I mean. When you kind of get to the Trace, it's like, all right, I'm less likely to get shot.
On the way here, now speaking of that, I thought of you immediately because I was coming up Woodrow Wilson. Every day when I come here, I go up Woodrow Wilson. I take a right on Medgar Evers. And right when at the corner there, you know what I'm talking about, where there's like the car lot and all that stuff in that corner.
5 points.
5 points, yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Felix.
And there was a guy walking with like a spandex jumpsuit, you know, like it's just all but there were shorts. And he had a mask on and like a bandana, and he's just walking down the middle of the road at 6 whatever in the morning, and I'm like, it just was like, I don't know, it was like a movie. Like, what is this guy walking in like all spandex? Like it was pink spandex too.
I went out
strange.
I had to go out to my parents' house the other day and change the batteries out in their security cameras.
Yeah,
and I got getting off at Elton Road, and I saw this guy pushing a baby carriage. Is that what they call it? Baby cart, whatever it is. And I was like, that guy don't know where he's at. Because I saw like some RVs at the gas station. And I thought maybe they were in one of those RVs and was just going on a walk. Maybe they've been on a road trip. I don't know. The first thing that came to mind wasn't a homeless guy
right,
with all of his belongings in a baby cart carriage. But that's exactly what it was. I snapped a picture of him just because initially I thought it was the other way around. I was going to make a post and like, these people don't know where they're at. Mm-hmm. And it was a homeless guy. But point being, the homelessness or whatever you want to call them have reached Elton Road now, and they have been. They're living over there at the old cemetery that the current coroner of Jackson has taken over and done nothing with. It's a meth-riddled homeless encampment, just like what you would see in some of the bigger cities. And then, of course, you have the old city park there, Palm Bridges South. Okay. It is a disaster area. If anybody's got a drone is interested, going over there and getting some good drone photos, videos of just how bad that park and that cemetery have gotten, there's a little nugget for you. It would do very well. I would definitely share the photos and video if you do it. So let's see. Guns and Gear text line 769-241-1944. Mazda of Jackson phone line 601-879-0002. I appreciate all the calls and texts yesterday afternoon or after the show. The well wishes and all that good stuff for my little mini testimony I gave yesterday. It was much appreciated. I did clip out that segment, and I got it posted on YouTube and on the podcast. It just says 13 years ago today I was at rock bottom. It's the title. If you guys want to check that out, apparently it touched a bunch of people and y'all enjoyed that, so I do appreciate it. When you're vulnerable and you kind of bear it all sometimes, it seems to relate well with folks. I think we all got that in us, right?
It was great. I got to listen to it last night. It was good, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't want to go all gay or anything here, but I got kind of emotional for a minute.
Well, I went back.
No offense to anybody's gay. That's just what I say.
I went back and listened to it, and I appreciate that. I went back and listened to it last night, and same thing happened again. Yeah. I was like, why am I so emotional about this?
It was Well, I guess, a lot of us can, I was listening to it, and I think a lot of us relate to our own lives, going through those kinds of things when you feel like you've hit rock bottom. And then, my dad's really good at this because he's one of those people that's like hit rock bottom when we moved here was one of the reasons, because he was a stockbroker and in the crash of 87, kind of lost everything. And, and then we ended up over here and and then he ended up, we went from broke to end up doing very well financially. And, he always tells me, he's like, look, things change, man. You just got to keep going. And it's really true.
Yeah, a lot of football coaches, and I've said this on the show a bunch, you got to win the day.
Yep.
If you can win today, then you win tomorrow. Then you win 4 out of 7 days. You won the week. And then you do that over and over and over again. You're going to win the month. You're going to win the year. And next thing you know, you're just going to be a winner.
Right.
And you got to keep consistency. Whatever the opposite of death by 1,000 paper cuts is.
Yeah. What is up? That's the opposite of that, right? I mean, it's just just keep on moving. I mean, I think that's the key to it. If you keep on, you keep on trying. I think it's when you don't try, that's the problem. When you stop and you give up and you just kind of just become stagnant. So
100%. Well, I appreciate everybody on that. And, hopefully that touched somebody. If you're in a bad place right now, you don't have to stay there. It will get better, but you got to get up and you got to try to win every day.
Yep.
All right. So shifting gears, the Shad White drama continues.
Speaking of someone who's trying to win, he is trying to win. I mean, wow! I just saw Russ Latino has a new article up there this morning in Magnolia Tribune about it too, because Mississippi Today had one also yesterday.
I love I got them both pulled up here. I love the Magnolia Tribune title. It said White's Mississippi Swindle hits shelves and lasts nerves.
Yeah, it's really good.
And then the title on Mississippi Today's. About halfway through reading it, I tried to get to it this morning. It says, lies, rumors, innuendo, fiction. State GOP chair, AG Bash auditor Shad White's book on welfare scandal.
Yep.
You got the clip pulled up where they describe where.
Oh, of course I do. I do. I think I can just memorize it, but I will pull it up again. So Jeff Pender was the one who wrote the Mississippi Today article, and he has a quote in there where he's talking about how Shad describes, how certain people look in the book. And he talks about Phil's got rugged looks and Tate's got rosy cheeks.
And that Mike Hirsch was from Central Casting.
Central Casting, yeah, exactly. And then he says that White, 38, is himself a small, slender, elfish-looking fellow with large ears and a receding hairline. And I mean, it was just that's an obvious dig, Yeah. I mean, he basically called him the elf on a shelf, like that's what he did. So it was definitely a burn. But I think obviously there's no love lost between Mississippi Day and Shad White, so I'm assuming that's where that comes from. Because it was a little bit over. He didn't have to quite use the elfish part,
Well, this goes back to what I was saying the other day. I don't think he made any friends with this.
No.
But what I am curious of, and I can't remember if I said this in our group text with Fred or just to Fred or whatever. I'm sure it was in the group text. But anyway, I'm just curious what your normal non-Politico Mississippians think about this. And if y'all are listening this morning, if you don't really have a dog in this race, if you don't know Shad, you don't know Mike Hirsch, you're just looking at it from a tax-paying citizen's standpoint, I'm curious what y'all's thoughts are on all this. Do you care? Has Shad crossed the line, or is she doing his job? I mean, I think he's doing his job. The job part, I want to separate the two. I think he's doing a hell of a job when it comes to going after this. Yeah. But I think he's compromising that with this book. And then after talking with Mike Hirsch the other day, and I would love to hear Shad's side of the story, if he wants to elaborate on it. But I thought Mike brought up a great point that how much meat did you leave on the bone?
Yeah.
By not letting the feds do this.
And that's, I think I asked Mike that question. What I didn't understand was, okay, if you want to go to Jody Owens, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But I think that should have been an inclusive meeting with, not like transgender inclusive. I'm not talking about the way, just like
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like a meeting with Mike and
all
Jody.
Parties involved.
All parties there. Everybody goes and decides what track they want to go on. And then, the Jody can do what he wants to do, and Mike can do what he wants to do, and there you go. Or they can come with a game plan, I think, a collective game plan on how to do that. It seems like Shad's biggest concern was stopping the flow of money, so maybe there was a way to do that initially, that it did involve Mike, and then for Mike and them to investigate and find all the other people that were involved. It just seemed like that would have been the best option. But to your point about what does the regular public think about this, and not everybody that's just glued to Mississippi politics like we are. And somebody wrote a really good comment on a thread about this going last night on Facebook, and somebody said, I don't know that the average Mississippian really care or even knows who these people are, and I think that may be very well true.
That's my gut.
Yeah.
That's my instinct, is that I don't think most people care.
I mean, do you think most Mississippians know what the role of the auditor is maybe? I mean, I don't know if they do. I'm not saying that as a dig. They're just not that interested, in it like we are. Like we're just, I mean, I'm sure when I was like in my 20s, I didn't really, well, I mean, I'm a dork, so I might have known, but most people I don't think are thinking about what does the auditor do? What does the attorney general do? I don't think they're thinking about it like that.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you use the old theory that no publicity is bad publicity, I think Shad is winning.
Sure. Especially when this Netflix thing comes out, and then, I mean, Russ mentions that in his article, and then I did get a call to confirm that the Amazon series actually is in the works. So
there's two things. They're both documentaries, right? They're never doing movies here. There's nobody's going to be playing anybody in this.
I think the Amazon is working on actual maybe like a series. You know how they do like a documentary, but it's like actors, like a series,
like a multi-episode.
Yeah, like they did one on Waco. I don't know if you ever saw that or whatever.
Great.
Yeah, stuff like that. I think they're working on something like that, but I know Netflix is doing something here shortly. So
yeah, I mean, so we'll see how it shakes out. I know he was on that HBO one. What was it called?
Rich and Shameless.
Rich and Shameless. That's a great series. A bunch of different.
It is cool
stuff. It is more about. That was more centered on Brett Favre than anything, but Shad did insert himself into it.
Interesting enough. So, as to the Brett Favre thing, if anybody is really following this, and I did not know, somebody called me, made me aware of it after the episode that we had with Mike. So, Dr. Van Lanningham, was the owner of Prevacus, the concussion drug company, has actually been indicted 3 weeks ago by the Southern District of Mississippi. I haven't looked it up yet. This is what this person told me who follows it very well. So that indicates that the way he related it to me, that's a possible future indictment of Brett Favre is maybe down the pipeline. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but that's kind of what they were saying that could, because that's what's the part that's related to him. Now, whether they do that or not, is anybody's guess, but it's more of it's a flashing warning light that could be coming.
That Brett could be getting indicted.
Because that's the part that he was involved with, the whole, do we need to get Davis a Raptor, and the whole thing with Phil Bryant and the the shot stocks or whatever they were offering him. I can't remember exactly what it was, but so that's the Brett portion that could. I mean, not saying that he is or that he did anything wrong before he sues me. That's not what I'm saying, but that's what they were saying that could indicate that may be possible. So
it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, I know I say that a lot, but that's really just until we know something. That's really the only answer I got.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty. I didn't know Van Lanningham was indicted, so I was like, wow, okay, because I just haven't, other than this book, I haven't really followed the whole thing that much. And I did years ago, but not as much now but apparently that's what's going down.
Well, before we go to the break, I got Shad's release here, his response to the Mississippi Today article. Mm-hmm. I just want to hit this real quick, and the question of the day is this. Well, it's a two-parter. Do y'all care about all this? Does it affect you? Well, would you vote for Shad as governor? That's kind of a one-part question there. But then the second part is, do you guys that have been keeping up with it, do you think Brett Favre has blood on his hands, so to say?
Yeah.
I mean, should Brett Favre be indicted and have to prove his innocence in a court of law? I mean, do you think there's enough there? And I guess if you do Brett, you got to do Phil, don't you?
I mean, think if Van Lanningham's indicted, and then you'd go up to, of course, I don't know what they've got in the case, but just look at what we've read, it seems like they all three would be the track. But I don't know what the evidence is. Obviously, that I'm sure the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI has that information, and they know it very well what their strategy is on that. So, which,
I mean, all the more reason to have let the feds investigate the thing to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been the reason exactly. I think the three of us were discussing on Monday. That would have been the appropriate thing. That didn't happen, and I think that's the whole issue that a lot of people, at least in the political circles, have with, what Shad did was this seemed like this was, you were trying to make yourself famous, you know what I mean, real quickly, and that's kind of what what led to all this strife. But I will say this too, Clay, and you've had many conversations with, I guess what we call these people that we talk to, politicos, people that are involved in the system, and I mean, what I'm getting back is that a lot of the stuff he said in the book is not wrong about certain officials. Not talking about Mike, but about other ones, that I've got that kind of feedback from people saying he's not entirely wrong. So I thought that's interesting.
Yeah, I want to read this quote, this little excerpt from his press release. I'm not going to read the whole thing; it would be boring. But he just says, "The truth, unfortunately," this is from Shad White. He said, "The truth, unfortunately, is that Mike was not a particularly good U.S. attorney. Consider that he took a meeting with Nancy New while it was publicly known we were investigating her. He potentially turned himself into a witness in the process and did not launch his own investigation at the time. He did not put her on a wire to wear around other potential welfare fraudsters. He did nothing at all. Mike is complaining that he wishes he would have had the chance to work on the case earlier. He could have acted then. He didn't. In fact, by the end of Mike's time as U.S. Attorney, he had taken no real action on the welfare scandal whatsoever. Everyone knows why Mike is trying to criticize me and play Monday morning quarterback now. It's because my book pointed out his sloppy, unprofessional behavior. Mike is a wannabe politician who knows the truth about this case, threatens his ability to launch another failed run, so he's mad, and people can read for themselves about what happened and decide what they think.
I would like to say something about that, Clay. The failed run, he ran against, I was working for Jim Hood when he ran against him. That was a kamikaze mission for anyone. No one was going to beat Jim Hood. They tried 3 times before that to do that. So I think it's unfair to get like a failed run. He ran because the Republicans want somebody to run, and you got to put up an opponent. But Jim Hood was not going to be beat like that by any Republican. I think he'd still be AG if he wanted to be AG. I think most people would agree with that. So that's unfair. You would agree with that.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, he would be AG. So I don't think that's really fair to say that about him. And another point, let's say Shad wanted to prosecute this with Jody Owens only and wanted to stop the flow of money. Okay, I can buy that argument to a certain extent, right? Then don't write a book. And then I totally believe you. That's where I'm at with that. And I feel like that's the problem with that, is that you covet power so much, you become dangerous. And what scares me and Mike and I had this discussion, the law enforcement role, that's really scary. And we've seen that with Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. Like the prosecutors, especially the state prosecutors.
These hell-bent prosecutors.
Yes, they're doing nothing but trying to gain their own political prestige or power, or whatever you want to call it, by using him as their foil, which, I'm a Democrat, but I'm still against that because I'm for the system working and being unbiased towards anyone, including him. And, so I think that's the issue when you're in a law enforcement role. You don't want to make it political, and I think the book really does that. So.
Well, I think that, and I think the pursuit of Brett Favre feels a little Trumpish as well. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show. This segment brought to you by, you just heard their commercial there, but Burgers, Blues, Barbecue. I actually got out of the house for a little bit last night and went and hung out at the old downtown Brandon location in the little B3 bar. Nice little crowd. They were hosting bingo on a Tuesday night out on the patio. Shout out to my buddy Robert Graham. He was out there hosting bingo, and I sat inside and had a nice cold drink or two with my buddies from the Brandon Discount Drug Crew. Shout out to them, Ryan and his team. Good folks over there. Get out, enjoy the same thing I did. Out there at Burgers, Blues, Barbecue. It's a little bit of food, a little bit of cold drinks, and a little patio. They all their locations have a patio. That's like their thing. Going back to when they were Burgers and Blues on County Line Road, they're known for their big patios. Get out, enjoy it. The weather has not been too terribly too hot. I mean, it's hot. It's Mississippi. It is what it is. But they got all the big fans and stuff. It was comfortable out there. I'll say that. So get out there, enjoy it. And don't forget, kicking back up September 18th. The Acoustic Corner Unplugged competition begins again. That was huge for about 2 months almost there. So they'll be kicking that back up. But in the meantime, grab some breakfast now at the Madison and Flowood locations. The Flowood location is located directly in front of Dick's Sporting Goods at Dogwood. They have breakfast served, fresh, made from scratch, all of it right there this morning. And grab lunch. They got plate lunches every day. The fixed items is red beans and rice and hamburger steak. And, of course, they have a rotating meat as well. And you'll always grab one of their famous burgers. Blues, Barbecue. I'm kidding. Grab one of the burgers, man. I'll tell you, the buffalo chicken wrap is phenomenal. The smoked Nashville hot wings are some of the best ones I've ever had in my life. So get by there, see them today. Tell them that you heard it on the Clay Edwards Show. That's burgersblues.com to see the menu and to book a food truck. They got 2 of them. If you got a special event coming, let them handle it for you. Catering up to 5,000 people, too. So they can do it all at Burgers, Blues, Barbecue. All right, Shaun. Let's see here. Let's read a few texts on the Guns and Gear text line. By the way, the Guns and Gear text line is 769-241-1944. The Mazda of Jackson phone line, 601-879-0002. Unknown texter. You guys need to do a poll and see how Mississippi voters would vote among candidates for governor. I am curious to see how many people would vote for Micro Shad. You could do a informal poll on your Facebook page. We can do that.
That's a good idea.
We can do that. We'll take the 4 people that we're hearing are interested in running and maybe throw add other as an option.
Yep.
And usually other wins. We'll put bacon as an option. Bacon.
Buffalo wings. Yeah.
Let's see here. I am going through the text. Sorry, some of these aren't for air, so I'm having to weave in and out of them.
Read those ones. Come on.
Well, some of them are pictures.
Oh.
Unknown texter. There were other people involved in receiving money other than Favre. Why aren't those people being brought up? Well, because they're not Favre, right?
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, I mean,
and I'm sure they will. I mean, one thing I'll give the feds is this: if they get involved and there's other names to indict, I believe they will indict everybody.
Yeah, I think Favre. I think it got publicized so much because of Favre. But, I mean, obviously there was things he did there that he had to give the money back. I mean, I'm not saying that he did. I don't know that he did anything illegal. I'll leave that up to the feds. But, I mean, he certainly did return the money because he didn't perform the work, and that was the whole problem. As far as, and that's in Shad talks about that in his book. They didn't perform those speeches that Nancy New had contracted with him to do. So then he returned the money. I mean, so something was there. I mean, you usually give them money back because, you didn't do something. So
you know how in a Ponzi scheme, anybody that profits off that money has to give all the money back even if they weren't involved.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Like, say for the New York Mets got really screwed during the Madoff stuff.
Oh, did they really?
They had to pay back $1 billion, something crazy.
I don't know.
Because they profited off of it through investment or something or another.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact minutia of it all, but say for example, we know that the News took that money, they took TANF money, and they invested into Dr. Van Landingham's company.
Right.
Does he have to give that money back? I mean, I know he's being indicted, but I don't know if it may be something different. Like, is he being indicted for them?
I think there's
for them investing into the company, or is he being indicted for trying to bribe the governor, allegedly trying to bribe the governor?
I know what you're talking about. It's like profiting off illicit gains.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Then yeah, sure. Yeah, I've seen that where. I've seen this in a criminal law function.
Even if you didn't know they were, like even if you didn't know they were illicit.
Yeah, even if I'll give you a real simple example. Like, say somebody hires me on an armed robbery case, and they pay me $20,000 of the money they stole from the bank. Then, even if I don't know where the money came from, but it is proven, I believe I have to give that back. Now, I've never encountered that situation, but I've read about that before. And I've heard about that happening to a fellow lawyer, before. So, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, let's see here. John says, seems they can't always find the money. Well, a lot of this money, a lot of money you're not going to get back, right? I mean, but they're going to take stuff that they bought it with, houses, cars. Right. They're taking all that.
Sure.
Unless there's a line of credit on it, then it's just going to default to the banks.
Well, I think the Fed seized Teddy DiBiase's house. Remember that? Yeah, that was in the paper. That they did that. They did what's called a Liz Pendens action against the house.
What's it called?
It's called like a Liz Pendens action. I've never done that before, but it's like a civil seizure or something. I actually had to look it up when I saw that. It's something that the feds do. But yeah, I think they seized his house. It's in the book too, I believe. He talks about it. Chad talks about it.
Okay, I haven't got back to that yet. Let's see here. Unknown texter. I saw a sign for Corporal Fred Johnson running for mayor. Do y'all have any info on that? I couldn't find him on the internet. He is one of the reasons on Ben to him turn my life around. Unbeknownst to him, I turned my life around. Oh. All right, sorry. Now, I don't know much about him. I saw a billboard for him. I mean, he's got some people interested in him, but I don't know anything about him.
That's a Jackson mayoral candidate?
Yeah.
I've seen a bunch of them, under the Pascagoula Street underpass right there. Right? Is that what it is?
Like under Halley Miles and Martin's.
Yeah.
There's back on the interstate.
I took a pictures of them and meant to look at them later, and I forgot. But it was like there's a bunch of dudes just like everybody's. I mean, I guess everybody smells blood in the water, so they're all like everybody's running, like everybody's grandma's running, like I'm running for mayor because
it is funny in Jackson. I'll say this for them to continue to elect an idiot over and over. And how they all seem to be on the same team, and you're not allowed to talk bad about Chokwe and blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. The knives come out come election time. The black Democrats ain't scared to run against another black Democrat.
Oh, they're going for it. I mean, especially now because, I mean, they've heard everything we've heard. I mean, it's been pretty publicized that Chokwe might potentially be indicted by the feds. And if he is, I mean, that makes for, I guess that'd be funny. Let me play this one out. Let's say Chokwe is indicted by the feds, okay? And he runs for re-election. Does he win while he's indicted? I mean, I could see that happening in a place like Jackson. Well, he runs on the indictment,
You and I had this conversation privately, I think. I was like, when this all first started coming up, I was like, does this help Chokwe like it has Trump?
That's what I was thinking too, right? Like that. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, does he get out there and said, and these corrupt courts and prosecutors, they're trying to go. I mean, does he play that angle?
But the difference is, in my mind, is we generally agree that Trump's charges are a political witch hunt.
Sure, yeah, I agree.
Chokwe's indictment ain't a political witch hunt. They don't want to have to indict a black mayor.
Yeah, but I think I agree with you on that. I think it is a witch hunt as opposed to Trump, but I think that's going to be the game plan for any politician, regardless of party, is just to follow the Trump lead now when they're indicted.
Oh, sure.
I think they're all going to play whether they did it or not. Sure. I think he plays that. He does play the whole Trump thing,
But public sentiment's really what matters.
Sure.
Does the public? If people are being honest with themselves, even if you hate Trump, if you're in the car and you're being honest with yourself, you have to know that what's going on with Trump is a political witch hunt. If you're in the car with yourself and you've lived in Jackson for the last 7 years, especially the last 4 or so, you know that anything Chokwe gets accused of or indicted on, it's highly likely that it's true. I mean, come on.
It's beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, how does that play? I mean, look, the black urban Democrat demographic, it's a different lifestyle. I mean, I guess it's just the best way to say it. And it appears they rally around their thugs and felons.
Do you think whatchamacallit, does it make him more popular? And does he make allegations of racism is even better? Okay, let me give this example. So let's say he's indicted before the election, or he's indicted after the election and Kamala Harris wins. So it's a Democratic Department of Justice that does it. Or let's say Kamala Harris is president and her Justice Department indicts Chokwe. Does he claim racism at that point? Can he do that?
Well, I mean, look, he claimed racism when they wanted to move the zoo from one side of Jackson to the other. The city is 90% black. It was the city was going to keep the zoo, but it was still racism that they wanted to move it.
Right.
So yeah, the city has he did it during the water thing. He blamed the water, trash debacle. Well, of course he blamed the water on racism, but he blamed the trash thing on racism too. On the few white people that live out in Northeast Jackson, it's their fault that nobody else's trash got picked up.
And yet he said that the council was being racist. Yet my city council person, who's white, Virgie Lindsay, voted with him. Yeah, but it was still a racist thing. I guess a better question to frame it would be: what has Chokwe not blamed blamed on racism on? You know what I mean?
That's nothing.
Is there anything that he hasn't does he just does he stand in line at the convenience store and claim this is a racist line? It's because they only have one line for the lottery, not 2. Is that his? Does he do that? He's like, you're supposed to have 2 cash registers, not just one. This holdup is racism. I mean, I don't know. I just wondered what has he not blamed it on? Or is there something that he doesn't? That's a better way to put it. Is there something out there that he doesn't blame it on?
And John says on the Guns and Gear text line, racism is always a moneymaker. Yeah. Is it? I mean, is it running out? I mean, are people kind of tired of it?
Ben Crummake's pretty good. He's that dude's rolling, man. I got mad respect for him, man. That guy pops up everywhere. I mean, there'll be a black dude getting some stuff in Russia, and he'll show up saying next to Putin. There's Ben Crump. I mean, he's marketed himself pretty well. I got to give the dude props on that.
No doubt. All right, man. We just been kind of winging it this morning. Just a wing it Wednesday. I like that. It's a wing it Wednesday here on the Clay Edwards Show with Shaun Yurtkuran. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show live here on 103.9. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. Not sure if that was on or not. I had something.
No, I mean, half my earphone was off.
Yeah, sorry. I had the cue button on.
Cool.
Well, hey, it's live radio. It's what we do here on the Clay Edwards Show. Real quick, Mercy House Adult and Teen Challenge Automotive Center down there in Crystal Springs, Mississippi. I grew up in Byron, man, so it's Crystal Springs, Mississippi. guys, if you're looking for a vehicle, they got some cash cars, but you got to be first come, first serve. You got to be paying attention because they don't last long. But if you're looking for something consistently in that $10,000 to $20,000 range, nice, good, dependable vehicle, maybe a little higher on the mileage, but it's been reconned, it's been taken care of, it's ready to roll, ready to go get another 100,000 miles on it right now. Get down to Mercy House Auto Center in Crystal Springs, Mississippi. Check them out online, mercyhouseautocenter.com. They're a 501c3 or a 501c, whatever it is. Anyhow, it is a charitable organization, and you can donate a vehicle, running or not, to it and get the full tax write-off for that vehicle. Man, that'll help you out at the end of the year when you're having to scratch that check to Uncle Sam, especially you 1099 employees or business owners out there. If you got a fleet of vehicles that they've expired, they've outlived their usefulness, and you got to get a new fleet, consider donating the current fleet or the expired fleet to Mercy House. It goes a long way. It helps beat addictions, help get fathers back in homes, and we all know how important that is. Start online at mercyhouseautocenter.com. Again, they'll come pick the vehicle up, running or not. All you got to do is have a clear title, and boom, you got you a tax write-off and a vehicle out of your yard or driveway. All right, Shaun, look, man, since we're just kind of winging it this morning a little bit, man, having a little fun here, I want to make sure we open up the text line. 769-241-1944 is the Guns and Gear text line. Mazda Jackson phone line, 601-879-0002. Sorry, we got a bunch of texts kind of come through at one time. Somebody asked me, let's see here. It seems like John says, seems they can't always find the money. Poop always in one spot piles high. Racism is a moneymaker. The idea of Trump being racist is strong in the South. Why? I don't know. Well, that's just a black thing. White liberals and blacks think Trump is a racist because everything has to be racist. It's like, oh, you disagree. Racist. You don't agree with everything I said. Racist. Let's see here. Frisco says, well, when the feds get involved, a lot of times they bring folks down from D.C., and those folks don't care about the good old boys. Hell, Chokwe lives in Northeast Jackson behind a gate. You would think others wouldn't respect that. Yeah, I mean, the irony that Chokwe actually lived in the precinct or whatever you call
CCID.
It, the ward.
Yeah.
Well, he lives in the ward of the what am I trying to say here? The councilman he was calling racist, right?
Yeah, and I mean, and he also lives in the Capitol Police that he doesn't like. He lives in the CCID.
Yeah,
because it's really, he doesn't live that far from my house. I actually drove by there that one day. All that stuff was going down, and yeah, he's right there off of Lakeland. Yeah, it's right off Lakeland. It's like half a mile.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's in the CCID, and he's protected behind a big old gate. It's I think there's only like 4 houses. All of his neighbors there's not a single black person that lives there but him. It's always funny when you talk about that, when people, and this goes on both sides of the political persuasions, where like we talked about Brad Franklin and Chokwe, and they're raging against racism, and then they both live in the whitest neighborhoods of the city. I always think that funny. I mean, and look, I'm not saying conservatives do the same thing in different aspects, but this is just a good example of that where you're like, man, oh my God, white people bad, but we don't want to live around any black people. We live around all white people. I just think that's funny.
I think I heard Kim Wade say this. Kim, if it wasn't you, I apologize. You know what the American dream is, Shaun, in 2024?
What's that?
To not have to live around a bunch of black Democrats.
Well, I'm not going to say that, but you can say that, but it's the American dream. You and Kim can say that.
I'm just saying. I mean, who wants to live around a bunch of the stuff that's going on in Jackson?
Well, I don't want to live. I don't know what their political choices are, but I don't want to live in a bad crime area. I'll say that.
Which are typically blue cities.
Yeah, I mean, you're asking are cities that are primarily Democrat, are they crime ridden? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, I'm sure. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I don't think it's. I think it's easy to say, okay, it's because of political choices. I think there's a lot of reasons where there's crime in cities. I don't know that's necessarily. I mean, I think if people committing crime aren't voting. Like that's they're not voting for anybody. Like, do you think any of these guys that are getting arrested are actually going to the polls? Like, I don't think they are. I mean, I can imagine they're like, okay, I'm going to rob the stop and rob over here, and before I go vote. Like, I just don't see them voting. Like the people that are committing all these crimes. Now, does that mean that there's not people that are voting that are voting for stupid reasons, like or whatever, like for rhetoric and stuff? Yeah, sure, I believe that's true, but I don't think the actual people that are committing crimes are voting. Like, I just can't see they're like, oh, I need to go, commit this crime and then can go vote. I just don't see them being political activists.
Well, but yes, but the other thing is the people who are the most victimized by this crime continue to keep voting for these idiots and their policies that create these crime-friendly environments.
Now, that's correct. I believe that.
Why do we feel like that happens in Blue City so much?
I think there's what you kind of hit on it. I think there's this victim mentality, right, where the cops are bad, the system has been, because one time the system was very unfair. I mean, that is true, but that was many, many, many years ago. That I think that's
the system may have been unfair, but the neighborhood sure were a lot safer.
Yeah, I mean, if things were safer, but obviously doesn't justify people being prosecuted for reasons that were not fair. I mean,
sure.
I think there's this pervasive victim mentality that stayed in bluer cities, where the police are bad. We don't want proper policing, and we've seen the results of that. I'm thinking Jackson is a great example of how that happened, and Chalkway has been kind of the one leading the charge on that, where I don't want to put in those cameras. I'm doing I don't want to do roadblocks. I don't want to do whatever. I don't do anything I need to do to fight crime because it's not fair, or or maybe racist or whatever he says. I'm sure he said that. So I think that's where that creates a habit. I mean, and look, we've got an actual test example here in the CCID. Before it was becoming lawless, and now that's changed because we're properly policing the area like you should in any city, and I think that's. So I guess to your point, I think there is a lot of liberal policy when it comes to policing that's bad. They're bad ideas, and that maybe has caused a lot of crime where they want to have less enforcement, and that's caused that.
Man, it's so stupid. It's too stupid to be stupid.
Yeah, I mean it's very dumb. It doesn't it doesn't make a lot of sense where we don't want to enforce the law, and because it's not fair or it's this or it's that.
It's right. The city's 90% black.
Yeah.
We say this all the time. Of course, most of the crimes are going to be committed by black people. Of course, most people that are going to be committed or arrested are black. It's just the demographics of the area. You flip it to a 90% white area, it's the same situation. Or to go to an Indian reservation, it's the same thing. We got to take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show. We got about a minute here before the top of the hour break. After the break, we're going to get in the weeds a little bit on the media and Kamala Harris versus the media and Donald Trump. We're going to look at it from two different sides and try to understand. Well, I don't know if there's any understanding it or any need to understand it, but we're going to take a deep dive into why the media is running cover for Kamala Harris and not for Trump. She hasn't had a press conference, period, since she announced that she was running for president, or since they pulled a coup and installed her as the candidate. She has not had a single press conference, and she's still in Trump's campaign stuff, and nobody's holding her accountable on any level. When she actually voted, she had the tie-breaking vote on the IRS cracking down on people with tips, and she voted for that. We're going to get into all that on the other side here. This is the Clay Edwards Show. If you're looking for somewhere to eat today, Martin's at Livingston and Martin's in downtown Jackson. Of course, they got some of the best plate lunches in the state of Mississippi. Stop by, enjoy, and don't forget Martin's Market, the little gas station, full-service gas station right there at the town of Livingston, full service. And stop by, grab breakfast, homemade, made from scratch chicken biscuits, sausage and biscuits, smoked sausage, and more. That's right there at the town of Livingston. This is the Clay Edwards Show with Shaun Yurtkuran here on WYAB, and we will be right back after this break. Boom goes the dynamite. It's hour 2 of the most incendiary show on the radio right here in Mississippi. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I'm, of course, Clay Edwards. This segment brought to you by the folks with me and Shaun. We're just talking about during the break here. Men's Health in Mississippi. Fellas, get over there today and let them get you free testosterone screening. But look, man, they're way more than just a testosterone clinic. That's what I push here on the show. They can be your personal physician. They have all kind of great plans available, especially if you don't have insurance. Get out there and talk to them about their monthly membership program. And I'm not going to get into the prices here. I'm just going to tell you it's very affordable. I'll let them discuss that. But you can use them for all of your personal physician needs. I do. Shaun does. And it's been the easiest thing I've ever done without going into details about how it operates. Just say this, it's just very, very functional and easy. You have a line of communication to your phisian.
Yeah.
When you go in there, it doesn't feel like you're in a doctor's office. It feels like you're in a hunting lodge.
That's the biggest thing to me, Clay. I don't know. I think a lot of guys feel this way. I don't know if you feel this way, but I'm always scared of the doctor. Like, that's my thing. I don't like going to the doctor. I don't like going to a hospital. And then sometimes things lax because of that, and especially when you're in your 40s, you need to start checking yourself out. And what I love about Men's Health is, like, I really feel comfortable going there. And it's where it's kind of like, oh, I don't mind going over there. I kind of get eager to go over there because they'll tell me what's wrong, what's up. So that's a big thing to me, is how comfortable I feel doing that.
Yeah. My buddy Corey said the exact same thing. It was just like, he hates doctor's offices. They don't bother me per se. I mean, it's a nuisance, but they don't bother me.
Yeah.
I don't like the way they smell either. And there's none of that there. There's none of that there. It's very laid back. I mean, I know we're going to bore you out to death talking about the doctor's office, but if you're looking for, look, man, as men, we're scared to death to go to the doctor because we don't want to find anything's wrong with us.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's all of us, whether we admit it or not. And they take all that tension out of it. Mm-hmm. And they do your blood work, and they let you know. And it's like, hey, when you get your blood work done, it's going to be way more than just about your testosterone. There's a lot of other chemicals and whatnot and hormones in your body that you can get balanced out, and they're going to take care of all that. And you'd be amazed, man, at just how big of a difference, like your estrogen levels and your testosterone levels make in your mental health. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't explain that loudly enough. But look, real quick, we're going to move on. But if you're suffering from fatigue, decreased muscle tone, lack of energy, low libido, brain fog, or sleep disturbances, and look, here's another one. It's 8:10. Kids should be out of the car. Fellas, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you ain't got that morning wood, if that morning wood don't need to be chopped down every morning, good sign your testosterone levels are low. Text my name, Clay, all caps, to 601-327-8550, 601-327-8550. They're going to get you hooked up with a free testosterone screening courtesy of the Clay Edwards Show at Men's Health in Mississippi, located right there, 120 Fountains Boulevard in Madison, Mississippi. I could talk about it. I know people get bored of hearing us talk about it. But man, it's just something I could talk. I'm so passionate about it. It's something I could talk about every day.
Me too. I'm not saying this because they're a sponsor, because I also like those guys a lot personally.
100%.
They're awesome dudes.
Scott and Micah, the whole team over there.
Yeah, they're really cool, and I just like I like going over there. It's been really. I mean, I do everything over there now. It's just it's a great place. So I really recommend. I'm just like if I wasn't on this show, I prefer my friends to go over there.
I was going there before. I was on the show, but before they came into it, I sent them so much business. Because I had such a good experience that they was like, maybe we should advertise.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's worked out for both of us. Mm-hmm. All right, shifting gears here. I really want to play this clip. It's not. We can dovetail our Kamala Harris stuff off of it. This is Iman Omar. We're going to talk about race here for a minute. I know that makes people uncomfortable, but I think it's an important conversation because the media allows racism from one side and calls everything else racism on the other. It's a very unique situation. This is Iman Omar blaming most of the deaths in this country on white men.
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country, because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country.
All right, well, I'm glad she said that. We have the homicide death rate per 100,000 people, 28 to 21, based on race, broke down here. White people are responsible for 2.9 deaths for every 100,000. Mm-hmm. Black folks are responsible for 28.7 deaths. So this rounds up to 29 deaths per 100,000. Our Hispanic friends, I'm about to learn Spanish so I can talk to y'all, are 6%. Asians, the lowest. They're not a violent bunch at all. At least not here in America.
The murderous Asian folks.
Yeah.
There's definitely
the rooftop Koreans. They're
the Rock Army from L.A. That shot up all the rioters.
they're 1.5%. So I guess these aren't really percentages. 1.5 deaths per 100,000. They do not kill one another.
You don't ever see an Asian person, and by the way, some of the closest people in my life are Chinese, and you don't ever see like an Asian guy walk by, you get worried. You just think he's gonna try to sell you something. That's what I think.
Yeah, but I like doing business with those folks. I like doing business with Syria. I like doing business with foreigners.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah, like some people don't. Like I don't like selling them cars. That's a miserable experience. But if I'm the customer, I like doing business with them. If I'm on the other side, it's like, oh, you got to be kidding me, buddy. You know me your best price, buddy.
No, that's what I'm saying. I grew up. My father, Middle Easterner, and tell you it's an experience that will scar you for the rest of your life.
He's a rug salesman, right?
Yeah, basically. He sold everything. I mean, he had a little stand at the bazaar when I was a little kid before.
He's at the bazaar?
Yeah, well, it's not a bazaar. It was like a thing. He sold men's clothing. Who knows? He sold everything. I mean, then he became a stockbroker. But anyway, you just couldn't, going to a store with my father was the worst experience. Kids want to go places with their parents. I never wanted to go anywhere with him because he'd make it just miserable. And I mean, because he'd want to negotiate on give me like a Walmart or something. It's like, how much, he negotiated for the price of a pack of pens. He's like, well, this is $3.99. This cannot be $3.99. I mean, just they're like, Dad, yeah, it is. I'm like, $8. Like, yes, it is. It's $3.99. It's like, no. This only cost them like 2 pennies to make. So this has got to be it'd be like that everywhere we went. It'd be like McDonald's drive-through arguing with the person that's the food, the price of the food. That's terrible.
I want to circle back to that. Let's finish this because we had some fun with that. But American Indians coming in second with the second highest amount of deaths per 100,000 with 12.5. I mean, where is this roaming band of American Indians going around scalping folks?
I don't know. I mean, you said that at the break. I was like, what? I mean, there's 20 American Indians in the country or something. There's not that many of them anymore.
I guess they're just basing it on because a lot of that there is a lot of violence on the reservations. We don't hear about it.
Sure,
but I have a friend that is a medical personnel, we'll say, on one of the reservations, and she's told me some horror stories about some of the stuff they like. And anytime you talk about something race specific, people get in their feelings. But I guess American Indians don't process sugar.
Yeah, I've read that.
And like black folks have a higher propensity for diabetes and stuff. Mm-hmm. American Indians are allergic to alcohol.
Yeah.
And they get drunk and they get violent.
And, there's, I think when you go, I travel a lot in Utah and New Mexico because I really like camping and doing all this hiking and all that stuff. And there's Monument Valley. You ever seen Monument Valley? It's always on all the TV commercials and movies. And anyway, and I was camping out there one time and you can't get any liquor. It's 2 hours away to get it because it's an Indian reservation. So I was out there. I was camping. Bo Trebutich was with me. We were camping in the middle of the desert a few years ago, and there was all these Asian tourists were there and French tourists, and they ran out of. They didn't realize that you couldn't have any alcohol, but I knew because when we stopped in Salt Lake City, I'd stocked up because I know the deal. And so I'm out there, and this French guy's trying to he's like, you got a bottle of vodka? I said, yep, it'll cost you $400 too. Then I acted like my dad. I was like, this will be a $400 bottle. It's like taco. It's amazing what people will pay when they're desperate for alcohol. They're like, here's a $400. Like, here you go, here's your bottle of vodka.
Scarcity. Yeah. Scarcity is a thing.
That's right.
So
the rug salesman in me came out there full power force, and I'll tell you what.
Yeah, I found out the hard way. We went to the Choctaw Fair last year to see Bret Michaels and got there and realized you couldn't buy a beer. I was like, I'm about to watch a Poison concert sober. This will be fun. It was a good time. It was hot. That's one of the hottest concerts I've ever been to in my life. Good Lord. I guess it was about a month ago today. Anyway.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember you were telling me that a year ago, and you were going to Poison. You didn't drink. I was like, that sounds horrible.
I know. I was like, this is a first, other than the first time I saw him in '88 or '89 at the Coliseum.
Yeah, when you could not literally drink.
Couldn't buy beer there either at the time.
If in 1989 Clay was drinking a beer, I think that would be a problem.
Probably so. 12-year-old Clay drinking a beer.
Yeah.
All right, so circling back, man. Iman Omar says that white men are to blame for most of the deaths in this country, and people should be fearful of white men. Now, when I say that about black folks, y'all call me a racist. So I'm just curious. Is it racist here too? Are we allowed to talk? Are we allowed to talk about this? Shaun, my bigger point. The media runs and calls anybody who says anything about a minority group of white people. They call white people racist who say anything about a minority group, regardless of how true it is or not. Why are the media running cover for a terrorist here?
Well, because let's be honest. It's the narrative, right? That's kind of like it's that she can get away with that. I'm not saying it's right. I don't agree with it. I kind of agree with your point. She can get away with saying that. It's obviously offensive to say that white people are out there mass murdering people. I just then that they're you should be fearful of all white people. I think it's bad to say that about anybody. You don't know. To me, it's always situational awareness. Okay, I'm just gonna be honest. If I'm West Jackson, I'm gonna be guarded because things are happening out there in South Jackson, West Jackson. And I've had just about every black friend I know have said the same thing. It depends on where I am. Like if I'm out, let's say I was in a black neighborhood in Brandon, I'm probably not gonna be that freaked out. It depends on where you are. So let's say you're in a white neighborhood in some major city that's lower income and known for crime. I'm gonna be nervous there too. It's very situational to me where I'm worried about crime. I think.
Yeah, I don't worry about it at all. I do not look at black people different in Rankin County than I look at white people. I don't think about it at all. I live there's a more predominantly black neighborhood area across the street from like my main street, Sunset, on the other side of College, but between like College and Highway 18, that's kind of like the black area. I didn't even know that till the other day. Somebody pointed it out to me. I was like, well, I don't ever come down here for no reason. So there's nothing down here, but for me. And I was like, well, whatever. That's cool. And everybody kind of then we're on my side of the street. Hell, a lot of black people live there too. I don't know. I didn't know that one side was predominantly black versus the other. But neither here nor there. It goes back to my original conversation about we were talking about the blue cities and crime. When I'm in a Republican area, it just is what it is. I'm not worried about crime.
Yeah, I think, like I said, it's environmental and situational. Where I am is really what determines whatever the person's race is. It's just where I am is where I'm worried about crime. I've never walked around Madison or Brandon and never been worried about getting robbed. But I drove up Medgar Evers this morning, and if my car breaks, I'm going to be kind of nervous about that happening, especially with the guy with the spandex walking down the road. So it just depends on where you are, I think.
Yeah, look, and then here's the other thing. Kind of circling back to Iman Omar and the fact that we just continue to let people get away with this stuff. White men and Christians have become a punching bag. And it's like we're not allowed to defend ourselves. We're not allowed to call this out, which I am, breaking rules when necessary. But
you call it out? What? I'm kidding.
Yeah. And more people should. It's like, no. This is an elected congresswoman.
Yeah.
Up here talking about we should be fearful of white men. Now, let's circle back to post 9/11 America. If we were, and look, I've admitted that I was probably, I don't know, I was rightfully fearful of people from the Middle East just at the time. That's what we were all being fed by every news channel, not just Fox News. It was everybody at the time.
Yeah.
If here in 2024, if I said the same thing, if I saw, somebody Middle Eastern, I was like, keep them out of planes.
Bro, I'm Middle Eastern, and when I got on a plane, I saw some dude dressed up. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, can I take the next plane? I did that. I think that's just, again, that relates to my situational thing, where like, yeah, it's natural when something like that happens to be fearful. I don't even know if it's necessarily racist. It's just reality at that point when there's been a huge terrorist attack and I see some guy dressed up in like Muslim wear and I'm getting on a plane. I remember this happening specifically to me, who grew up with a Muslim father and was on a plane like, oh, looking over at that dude. It just I think that's almost natural.
If you're dressed up like whatever stereotype that is the negative side of your race or ethnicity,
yeah,
I'm gonna look. I'm gonna look at you crazy.
I've had really good black friends, Clay, who've told me they see a guy drive up and like on Medgar Evers with their cars, like a Honda, and their kids, under 20, that they get nervous, know? And that's the same thing with me in my Muslim example. I saw a guy dressed up like, he kind of looks like a terrorist. And I'm like, even though my dad is Muslim. I mean, I just think that's, I don't know that that's necessarily racist. It's being recognized as some reality there for me.
Well, and I'll say this, you don't have to, but it's like in Jackson, who commits the most crime? I see the mug shots. I see how you're dressed in the mug shots. You look like a rapper. Your pants are hanging down past your butt. You're wearing a wife beater, got some gold on. Just very stereotypical wannabe rapper, thug, Jacksonian. That's also fits the stereotype of the people committing the most crime in Jackson. I'm going to side-eye you a little bit. I'm going to have my hand on my pistol if you pull up beside me in a Dodge Charger or a Challenger or a Nissan Altima with no hubcaps,
right.
Or a Kia. I mean, I'm just going to, situational awareness. If I'm on a plane and I see some dude get in with his hijab or whatever it's called on, I'm like, man, did we body cavity search this guy?
I mean, to this day, I still would do that. I'm not
I see a Klansman with a hood on, well, I'm going to side-eye him too. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, if I see some dude with like a swastika T-shirt and he's like walking into a crowd, I'm probably going to leave. Like that's another example right there. If the guy's got a shaved head and he's sporting a swastika T-shirt and we're at some live event, I'm gone. I'm like, see, I'm going to get out here now because I know I'm in the wrong place.
Yeah, I mean, that's across the board. It's not just. I use the Jackson example because this is where we're at.
Right.
But take that same energy to anywhere. And, if people are dressed up like the stereotype that people are fearful of, you're aware that you dress like that. And you're aware that people are fearful of that.
To that point, there was this video that you may have seen it a couple of years ago. This guy dresses up in like body armor, and he has a AR-15 and some other, looks like he's like dressed to go to war, and he walks into Walmart.
Yeah.
Right? Do you remember that? And people freak out. And then some people are like, well, this is Second Amendment rights. And I'm like, wait a second. Dude walks in dressed like that. He looks like an active shooter. And people were rightfully kind of nervous about it. In my opinion, I would have been like, so this dude looks crazy.
That's like when I saw it's like when I saw those black kids a couple weekends ago at Slim Chickens on Lake Harbor, pointing guns and stuff at each other and making one get on their hands and putting a gun to the back of the head and all that.
You got nervous, right?
I call the cops, and then I'm the bad guy. I don't know that they got toys. They're dressed like the stereotype and they're acting like the stereotype, and I call the cops on the stereotype. We'll be right back. Edwards show. Guys, Stonington Farm. That's right. It's that time again. I think they'll be here next Friday. Let me pull up the text from Miss Katie. I got it yesterday. That's that grass-fed. She goes, good afternoon. This is Katie Stonington with Stonington Farm Beef. We will be going to the Jackson area, Florence, Brandon, Ridgeland on Friday, August 23rd. Ground beef is on special for $7.25 a pound, regardless of the amount. The mini cow is also a great option as well. You get 10 pounds of ground beef, 10 pounds of roast, and 5 pounds of steak, all for 10% off list price. Let her know if you want to place an order. You can start it at StoningtonFarm.com. That's with Stonington with 2 N's, farm.com. And guys, 100% grass-fed, 100% grass-finished, mRNA-free, antibiotic-free, and unlike me, steroid-free. Grass-fed beef from right here in Mississippi. Check it out, StoningtonFarm.com, man. Great source of good protein, good grass-fed beef. I'm especially a big fan of the ground beef, if y'all haven't figured that out by now. But also, like Shaun is, I've got Shaun doing intermittent fasting with me now.
Yeah.
Shaun, another great thing to do is when you're just kind of struggling through your fast a little bit, the bone broth from Stonington Farm. You can eat your small cup of bone broth and put a little sea salt in there, so you're getting your you're getting all your nutrients that you need.
I'm glad you said that because the apple cider vinegar, man, starting to get kind of harsh.
Yeah.
That's
I do my shot of ACV every day.
I do it too, man, but I don't look forward to it.
Yeah, well, the bone broth, actually do you a little bowl of it, kind of like that soup from the Asian restaurants. Mm-hmm. And, you can drink black coffee, in a fast. Yeah. The bone broth, and it's a great source of protein. High source of protein.
Good to know that.
Yep, so they got that as well, and they'll be up here. So check it out, StoningtonFarm.com. Hey, Shaun, I was just cruising X here. Mm-hmm. Y'all be sure to follow me on X, at SaveJXN. Libs of TikTok just posted something. Well, it was 19 hours ago, but I hadn't seen any of our local news outlets talk about it. One of Kamala Harris's illegal aliens that broke into this country. I didn't have to break in; he just walked right in. But definitely definitely a guest of the border czar, Kamala Harris. Meet Filberto Gonzalez. He's a Mexican national who was in the country illegally. He was just arrested for raping a 10-year-old boy in Mississippi.
Ooh.
Yeah, guys. Blue no matter who. Blue no matter who. Just reminded, this is Kamala Harris is the border czar. You have an illegal in here raping a 10-year-old Mississippi boy. It doesn't matter boy or girl, but just disgusting on every level. Shaun, let me ask you a question. I'm not trying to pin you up here, but let's talk about the border for just a second.
Yeah.
Why are Democrats hell-bent on us not having a border? And why is it only our southern border?
I think I can sort of answer that. I think I always relate this to the abortion question, and I'll tell you what I mean. The Democrats ran on this theory that, we're going to let everybody in because it's the right thing to do. And I get the moral questions behind that. They didn't understand the practicality of it, right? The mess that it's created by enacting those policies. I think they did it kind of like, I think they felt about the border the way Republicans, very conservative Republicans, feel about abortion, that it's, immoral to kill, everybody thinks everybody's life begins at conception, all that kind of stuff, right? And I think Democrats had that kind of view on the border where it was moral to bring them in. I also think they did, I do agree to some certain extent about voter bases and not, but I also think that's a lack of understanding of Hispanic culture. And I grew up with Hispanic cultures and the differences between them, and that they're actually a very conservative group of people. And I think people don't realize that, how conservative they are. My great example is in South Florida. That's always been a Republican area of the Cubans have. I know they're different than Mexicans. We're talking about the southern border, but Mexican culture and themselves are generally very conservative. That being said, I think there was a moralistic thing, and the practicality of it, it's been a mess. We've all seen that. It's been a waste of time. Just kind of like, with abortion, I think a lot of Republicans felt this is a moral issue, that, killing a, unborn person is a sin and all that kind of stuff. The practicality of it has been politically bad for them too. So I think it's very similar in that view of it. That's why those issues.
Yeah, but here's the thing. One of them is absolutely 100% killing babies, and that's the abortion. That, regardless of the political ramifications, that's the right thing to do. The other, you have people coming in and killing people.
Well, I mean, it wasn't, but it's not all people. All people that have come across the border are not killing people. I mean, that's not fair either.
Well, they're still coming across illegally. Also, to your point about Hispanics or Mexicans, whatever, being more conservative just in their culture, long term maybe, but you get somebody fresh off the boat coming over here, you hand them a $5,000 debit card, and a tracker said, "This is who you're going to vote for. Here's your money," and you swing elections.
I mean, you could. I mean, I'd have to see specific examples of that, though. I know that's been alleged. I don't know. I've never seen data on that. I mean, I'd like to see that.
We haven't had a nationwide election since they've opened the border.
Yeah, but I mean, this complaint has been going on for decades, right? I mean, so I just...
Yeah, I minor stuff, but the door's been wide open the last 4 years.
Well, we agree on that.
For what's about to happen.
We agree. It's been a completely failed border policy by the Biden administration. I have no doubt about that. I don't disagree. I think anybody's being intellectually honest knows that, that's been a problem. That's why, I mean, did you see Kamala's new commercial that came out?
No. They don't air that stuff here.
No, it was, well, I mean, I was watching, I don't know, cable news. Anyway, it's all how tough she is on the border. That's the whole commercial.
Just gaslighting. Let's take a call real quick. Hey, you're on there.
Hey, talking about the border, I think that as conservatives, we.
Hey, you there?
Liberal
Hey, start over. Your phone cut out.
Yeah, well, I'm up here in the mountains, but we tend to look at the border as what's going on right now in our face. We've got a caravan starting up in Venezuela. That's what we're looking at it. But the liberal is looking at it in terms of the census. In 2020, blue states lost. They lost representation in Congress, and red states gained a few seats. I mean, it's not a whole lot, but the shift is starting, and the census goes on every 10 years. They've got 10 years before 2030 to backfill heads in these blue states, these sanctuary states, where they're sending the illegals to, because it's not about voting it's about the head count, because the census counts heads. It doesn't count voters, it doesn't count citizens. It counts heads for representation. And they've lost congressional seats, and they can't lose Senate seats because they're mandated by the Constitution. Each state gets 2. But the Congress, the red state representation is growing, and the blue state representation shrunk a little bit in 2020, and they've got to try some way to reverse that. The birth rate's not high enough, so they're sending these illegals in there, and God bless them, DeSantis and what's the guy in Texas, Abbott. They're sending them up there, and in 2030, the count's going to be back up in those states, and they've got to stop the bleeding. If they don't gain representation, they got to stop the bleeding to maintain what they have.
That's a great point. You articulated that better than I could. I appreciate it.
You guys have a good day.
Hey, you too. So on that point, Shaun, what do you think? I think he made a great point.
I don't think his point is bad. I think there are some blue states that have lost. California lost congressional seats, as far as I know, off the top of my head. I can't remember if New York did or not. What I would say, though, is I don't know if that was the intent, because obviously he just pointed to DeSantis and Abbott. They're the ones who pushed them into New York and Chicago and Illinois, right? I believe they transported them there. It seemed like there was resistance from. That was where the hypocrisy came from on the left on that. It was like, oh, we're sanctuary cities, but then they send them there like, we don't want them now. Like, what do we do? You've seen Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, say this is going to destroy the city and all those things. So I don't know if it was an intent thing, because it seems like the elected Democrats were like, oh, we don't want them here. Like, we want to get them on.
I felt like the intent for opening the border was to populate them in red counties. And try to flip red counties and red districts.
That makes more sense to me than
in Texas. And I mean, that's definitely what's going on in Texas. I can't speak for some of these other areas. I haven't I know what's going on with immigration. It's just not something I intensely follow, because I try to focus my energy on things that I can assist in, and that is not one that I feel like Clay Edwards' attention is going to make a difference in.
I think the border is one of those things where if it affects you, like New York was never talking about the border, but then they got hit, which was actually a pretty smart political move by DeSantis and Abbott to
when they sent them to Martha's Vineyard, and they had them off that island within an hour.
Yeah, I mean, it was, whatever, people will argue about motivations or whatnot, but politically it was very, very smart. And then so it made them aware of the issue in New York, where before it's easy for them to say, oh man, we want everybody to come across the border, because Texas is the only one dealing with it. They're the ones that have to take the brunt, which I always thought was actually unfair that they were, having to do that. So I think that maybe in Mississippi, we don't see it as much as some place like Texas does. So I think that's one of the things,
10-year-old boy just did.
Well, and I understand that there's cases here and there, but overall impact of being like what's going on in Texas, we don't see it here. Just like someone in Oregon doesn't see it or whatever. So I wonder, the general public, I know it's one of the top issues right now. I think it's one of the top 3 issues that people are focused on because what's happened. The number one issue, of course, is the economy, and that's that impacts everybody, and everyone's focused on that. So
yeah, well, you got 12, 13 million illegals in here. It could end up being tens of millions more. The whole country's going to feel it at some point. You don't have that big of a surge of new population, adults for the most part. And it not become a strain on your resources. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. We're live here on WYAB. Hey, guys, be sure to check out Lakeland Glass and Tint for all your automotive windshield repair and replacement needs. Don't forget, every new windshield comes with a lifetime a free one-time rock repair chip repair card that's good for the lifetime of the windshield, but you only get to use it one time. So whether it's the next day or 5 years later, as long as you hadn't used it and you still have that vehicle, they're going to fix that rock pick for you for free. And, of course, they got you covered on all of your window tint, paint protection film, and vehicle wrapping and ceramic coating needs. They're just a one-stop shop for all that kind of stuff. And here's something cool they're doing now too. Shaun, you seen this the frosted tint like on glass cubicles and offices and stuff?
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Sure.
They're doing that now. Mm-hmm. So if you got an office building or your home or wherever you want to check out frosting your glass walls or whatever, they got you covered. If you need privacy,
My office has got it's all windows. If you haven't been to my office,
I saw the
pictures.
picture.
Yeah, I'd like to get that done. That'd be neat.
Well, 601-946-1000.
To call them. Yeah.
Give Lakeland Glass Tent a call today.
Oh, it's Lakeland Glass. I didn't even hear. Yeah. Okay, I'll call Jason.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's Lakeland Glass and Tent, and of course you can start online if you want to get a free a quote for like your window tinting and windshields and all that. LakelandGlassandTint.com. They keep it very, very simple. And coming soon to Brandon 042. They're going to be opening up in downtown Brandon, a location right there for window tint and windshields, I believe. I know window tint, right on the and windshields too. It's an old glass shop they took over, so it's going to be right on the corner of Highway 80 and 471. So, man, I like it. I like enterprising. I love seeing great locally owned businesses expand. Let's text messages. How about that? Oh, we got somebody to hold. Hold on. Yep. On the Mazda Jackson phone line. Hey, you there? Brother, call back. We're having a issue with one of our phone lines there. But text message in the meantime. Josh says, as far as illegals, what about the group that was in Jackson not long ago being briefed by Mississippi Immigrants' Rights Alliance who didn't want to share their pamphlets? Look no further than the influence of Scott County, Morton, and Forest, and those small shotgun-sized houses popping up in Pearl again, headed to an area near you. I don't know about Pearl. Mayor Jake's got a stranglehold on that, but he lives right there, so he would know better than I would.
That just brings me that when he said Scott County,
the chicken plants.
No, I know exactly what he's talking about. I watched a debate on immigration about 2 nights ago between Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, the liberal organization, and Tucker Carlson. And it was really, really good. Have you seen that one before?
Not yet.
Happened out like 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
And Tucker actually made some interesting points about it, where he was saying that Republicans generally they're secretly very pro illegal immigration because the big employers, the corporate class, what I'm saying, wants these immigrants to perform this labor. He said, this is all Tucker's points. He's saying that, there's a rich class in this country that vote Republican that want this kind of labor. They're the ones that do like walk people's dogs and take care of their kids and, pick the fruit and do all this, work at the chicken plants. Like they want that, but there's part of them that portray like, oh, we don't want that, but they're actually pushing it. It was really interesting hearing him talk about that. So.
No, it's like the Osborne daughter who was on The View that day. Mm-hmm. And it was talking about Donald Trump wanting to, their myth is Trump wants to kick all Mexicans out of America. That's the propaganda they spread, and you know that. And she said, well, who's going to clean your toilets if you kick all the Mexicans out? Like, yes.
Well, that's what Tucker was talking about. He's like, this has really not been a conservative policy because the corporate, or what you would call the
I know what you mean.
Yeah, the George W. Bushes, the George H.W. Bushes, that class of Republicans always wanted a lot of immigrants to be here. So, he was obviously arguing against that. And he made some really, really interesting. You should listen to it. I encourage anybody to go on YouTube, listen to Cenk and Tucker debate from a liberal and conservative perspective. And it's amazing how much they actually agreed on during that debate.
Interesting. All right, let's try this call again here on the Mazda Jackson phone line. Hey, you're on there.
Yeah, Clay, sorry about that.
All good.
Hopefully I'm in a better place.
Yeah,
but anyway,
the
point I wanted to bring about this immigration, what's going on now is at a completely different level than, say, 10, 15, 20 years ago where you've got Hispanics coming over looking for a better life. What we've got now is a major security issue where you've got thousands of Chinese fighting-age males flying into the border, part of the getaways, as a subversive unit. You've also got gang members who are, the prisons have been released from the prisons in Venezuela and other South American countries. So we've got tons of gang activity that's coming across the border. You've got terrorists. So, you've got a whole lot more people from other countries coming through the border than Hispanics at this point.
Absolutely.
And, you not only have like the Democrats in control of an inept border where people are just haphazardly crossing, you have an orchestrated effort coming through the Darien Gap, through all the South American and Central American countries to come here, and orchestrated, paid for by NGOs, the State Department, especially the United Nations, is the worst culprit. You can go down to the Darien Gap, and they have UNESCO images on tents that's giving people clothes and food and backpacks and stuff like that. When they get, just before they get across the border, they do document dumps of all of their passports that they had to use to get through different countries.
Yeah, hey, and somebody just sent me this here. This is from the Gateway Pundit. What's today, the 14th? This is from today. Latino political organization offers $1,000 cash incentive to voters who publicly endorse Kamala Harris. So I guess that kind of, I don't know if it blows Shaun's point up about Mexicans being more conservative. They are more Christian conservative in the sense of because they're Catholic religion. Yeah. I got 100% there, but I agree with you too, brother, about everything you're saying is 100% true.
I mean, so there's a whole lot of people in Washington D.C. who's going along with this who ought to be in jail right now for
treason.
For their coercion, or not coercion, but they're being complicit or being a participant. I mean, traitors. Treason. They ought to be in jail for treason. Camilla should be in jail for treason. So should
Joe Biden.
It shouldn't have been Marcus impeached. It should have been Biden over this issue.
Yeah. Hey.
And another thing I would like to add too, as far as people coming over, and I understand what Shaun's saying about a lot of these people have like more traditional values. They're not buying into the LGBTQ crap and all. You don't have blue-haired Karens coming across the border.
No.
But what you just said, Clay, is these people are going to vote for the free meal ticket. They're not coming over here, and they're not going to vote for
what's best for
activism.
America. Yeah.
They're going to vote for who's giving me a free lunch, who opened the door for me to come in here. That's who they're going to vote for.
As would I, if it was the other way around, at least to get my free meal ticket until I got things figured out. Hey, brother, we got to take our break. We're running out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great call. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back in. Shaun, fun show today, man. We're just kind of a Wing It Wednesday. Great calls today, by the way. Very, very good calls on this border situation. It's always interesting to hear our well thought out listeners who have educated themselves on this stuff drop their knowledge on it, and that's why we keep the phone lines wide open here. And usually we'll stop mid conversation to take a call, with the exception of a few nut jobs. But hey, they can be fun too, right?
Yeah.
Shaun,
jobs are fun.
You got 30 seconds. Tell people how they can find you.
You can find me at www.onetextlaw.com. That's my website, or on Facebook, or text me at 601-906-9094. I do criminal defense, DUI, but I also take personal injury cases, and I can help you out if you've effed around and don't want to find out.
Hi. Well, look, of course, I'm Clay Edwards, and this has been the Clay Edwards Show today. I'll be back here tomorrow. My FAFO shirts are on sale again. $20 at the end of the month. Buy FAFO.com. Use the promo code FAFO20. Peace.